I honestly don't care what the Bills do as long as they don't pick quarterback.
And welcome to another edition of Buffalo Bills pregame show. It's the 2020 draft review. And without having a first-round pick this year, there's not really a big shocking headline. But I did hear Brandon Beane say in an interview that if he was going to do something crazy, like trade into the first round, that he wanted his employees to stop him. So, Jared, in your opinion, is it reassuring that he knows his limitations and would enlist those around him to stop him from making bad decisions? Or is it a little disturbing that he lacks the impulse control to prevent from tanking the franchise?
I would say the former. I would say I think it's okay that he knows his limitations, that he knows he always likes to trade up for some reason. And the fact that he realized he'd probably have to give up a first-round pick in the future to do so, I think that's fine. And I'm actually really happy that there were no trade-ups in this draft. And in fact, as we're going to discuss, most of the picks that he got were slated to go higher than he actually picked them. So overall, it was an amazing draft from that standpoint, that he was able to stay where he was and get the picks that were essentially just fell to him. And hopefully he'll remember that in the future, so we don't trade up and get Zay Jones over Juju Smith-Schuster again.
Not to name any names. All right, well, the second round, we waited until it was our turn to pick. And with the 54th overall, we picked A.J. Epenesa from Iowa, defensive end.
Right. So this was a guy I actually had mocked to 27 to the Seahawks. I see him as kind of essentially what Shaq Lawson was, somebody who's going to come in and rush the quarterback on third down, second downs, and it'd be a very good rotational guy for Mario Addison and Trent Murphy. So now, does that mean he can't start? No, I definitely think he does have the ability to start. It's just the only issue I have with him is his speed, and they also talked about him being able to rush in from the defensive tackle position, which was a little concerning. Like, why would he play tackle? However, that kind of reminds me of Kyle Williams a little bit. We're still kind of looking for that guy that can kind of sneak in there through the middle and pass rush in that location. So I'm very, very happy about this pick, and I look forward to seeing how he fits into the overall pass rush that the Bills defense has.
Well, you had him at 27, you said.
Yeah.
Like, we took him at 54, this is like second round, late middle second round. I think it's fair to say that you'd expect someone drafted at that point in the draft to be a starter at some point in his rookie contract, don't you think?
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but you got to think of who is he going to start over. Is he going to start over Jerry Hughes? Is he going to start over Mario Addison, who we paid a lot of money to get? Is he going to start over Trent Murphy, who was also a high free agency signing a couple years back? So it's just a question of where we're going to put him.
The entire defensive end in our depth chart is going to be over 30 at the end of the season, though. Like, he is far and away younger than the rest of the crowd.
Agreed. Yeah. Like I said, I think he can start eventually. I just don't think it's going to be this season. I could easily be wrong on that, though. And if I am,
well, not this season at all. But I'm saying in the rookie contract, someone taken at that point in the draft who we see to have like fallen that far, it would feel safe to say that you'd expect them to start within their rookie contract. Moving on to the third round, our second pick, with the 86th overall, we chose Zack Moss from Utah, a running back who Brandon Beane said that he had actually for about 10 moves been trying to move up to draft, but no one wanted to trade back with him. And he ended up falling to us by the grace of God.
Yeah, thank goodness he just stayed where he was. And I hope seriously, going back to what I said at the beginning of this, I hope he really learns from this. Yeah, so Zack Moss, what he reminds me of, like when you look at his tape, he reminds me of actually Singletary. He's a smaller back. He's good at breaking tackles. He led. I don't know if he led the FBS, but he had one of the most in the FBS history. He had 53 broken tackles. He ran a 4.65 40, so kind of in the middle there. He had 15 touchdowns last year, and he had 1,250 yards. He's actually related to Santana Moss, so he has that football background he had. 3
Pedigree.
years. Go ahead.
Pedigree. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, he had 3 years in college where he ran over 1,000 yards and he had 10 touchdowns in each of those years. So he's not a one-hit wonder. There's so many draft picks that are like, oh, they had one good season.
One good bowl game.
Yeah, or one good bowl game. And then we got to get this guy because of this one thing that they did, or the Senior Bowl. And but no, he had a very good college career.
Fourth round, our third overall pick. With the 128th pick of the draft, we got Gabriel Davis, a wide receiver from the University of Central Florida.
Yeah, so I actually like this pick. I was surprised to see a receiver in the fourth. I was expecting a lineman or a linebacker. But we are still looking for the downfield threat. Obviously, we have Stephon Diggs, and we still need to adjust both Josh Allen, Brian Daboll. They got to figure out how to get a downfield pass going. But why not bring in some receivers that are good at the downfield passing? And that's what Gabriel Davis is. He's taller than our other receivers. He's 6'3". He had 72 catches last year, 12 touchdowns, and he runs a lot of post routes. That's basically what he does. I think his only negative, quite honestly, was that he was in the Central Florida. I think that was his negative. I think if he was at a more known school, he would have been a lot higher in the draft. He wasn't in my top 10 in terms of receivers. He would be I looked at a national poll, and he was about 20, and that sounds about right. And that's probably where he should be for a fourth round pick. I should also mention, just to go back real quick, Zack Moss was my 7th best running back, and AJ was my 4th best edge rusher. So we did pretty good in terms of top 10 picks for the first 2 picks.
All right, so 2 straight offensive picks. With the 167th pick overall in the 5th round, the Bills have to go with a defensive player, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they chose Jake from Georgia.
Okay.
Quarterback.
All right. So, as most of you know, if you've watched any more than just this video, you will know that I was fine with whatever the Bills decided to do except for one thing. I didn't want them to draft quarterback. I didn't care what they did, just not quarterback. And my reason for this, and I realize that my opinion is very against the average Bills fan. I would say like maybe 10% of Bills fans might agree with me on this. So I won't try to dwell on this too much. I just want to say my point, and then Randy, you say your point on this. I just think it's a really bad idea to bring in an untested quarterback. We have no idea how good or bad he's going to be in the league when we are trying to develop Josh Allen, who was, let's face it, a project quarterback when we got him. He was worse than Nathan Peterman when we got him. Now he's up to a little, maybe Tyrod Taylor level, all right? And he's getting better.
You don't tell me that until he makes the Pro Bowl.
True, good point. A little worse than Tyrod. So we gave him a line last draft. Now we're giving him receivers. We're giving him another running back. So we're basically saying, Josh, it's up to you. Brian Daboll, it's up to you. And yet you throw in this other quarterback. So if Josh Allen does one thing wrong, there will be a thought of, let's see what this Georgia kid can do. Because Brandon Beane's right. He did drop. He was supposed to be a 2nd round, 3rd round pick, and he dropped all the way down to 5th. Jalen Hurts, who got picked 1 pick before at pick 53, I had ranked lower than Jake Fromm, and I think a lot of experts did as well. So technically, Jake Fromm could have gone in the 2nd round. So I understand, like, oh my God, here's this player, we should take him. But I'm so disappointed that we did not consider the development of Josh Allen when we made the pick. We just didn't. And I really hope it's not going to be anything negative. I do think the fans will turn on Daboll before they turn on Allen.
What if we like Matt Cassel this? What if like he is viewed, whether he plays or not, he is viewed positively throughout the league? You know, you said yourself he could have gone at 53. he fell back 114 spots. Like that's not nothing. Even if he doesn't play, we might be able to trade him in the future or use him like to trade up. We have a GM who likes to trade up in drafts. Even if he doesn't see the field this year, if he is like gives us value outside of be on the field, do you think that maybe that we could get more value out of him down the road for just made that pick?
It's possible, but I think he's always going to be compared to Josh Allen. I think they'll always be linked, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, just
that doesn't hurt the franchise. If he goes off, like, if he doesn't play for a season, he gets traded, or even 6 weeks, and we trade him in 6 weeks for a third-round pick. Just hypothetically, like a team needs, like maybe Allen goes down for a game, he has a good half. Over the offseason, some teams looking for a quarterback and trades us a second-round pick. You know what I mean? Like, what if there's a situation where we can make more value out of him and he's not really – as at any point is real competition for Allen? Would you still view that as negatively, or is that a way maybe you could mentally think better about this?
I mean, if it ends positively, I'll obviously consider it as a positive, but it's hard for me to,
like right now, there's no way you see it being good though.
It's not. I don't know what he's going to be. He's an unknown commodity. I
know, but right now you seem the pick is unredeemable though. I'm trying to help you think through a scenario where it's good.
You're right. It could be good. Possibly.
Well, speaking of controversial picks, in the 6th round, the Bills choose a kicker with 188th overall, Tyler Bass from Georgia Southern.
Now, interestingly enough, he was ranked the number 1 kicker in the entire draft. He's known for basically having a big leg. Like there's this video of him out there where he doesn't have to run up. He can kick a 50-yard field goal. I guess he can kick a 60-yard field goal with ease. But my concern with him is accuracy. Like we've been having an issue with Hauschka with his accuracy, and then we bring in a kicker. Wow, quarterback, a kicker who missed 8 kicks. He kicked 28. He missed 8 of them. And now that's not his entire average. He's actually made almost all his extra points. But it's like, okay, so we bring in this kid that needs a lot of work. I don't think it's a bad pick. I actually like it because we've been complaining about Hauschka, so why not bring in competition for Hauschka? I think that's fine.
Don't drag me into this. I've not complained about Hauschka at all. Carry on.
Okay, that's just the way I'm thinking about it then. But what's your thoughts on the kicker? Because you see,
I think it's such a shame that Hauschka got cheap shot, and that's when there's one moment when his performance went downhill, and that's when he got that cheap shot when he was covering a kick, halfway through last season. That breaks my heart, and that's probably part of why we drafted this kid. In general, the Patriots drafted a kick, spent a 5th round draft pick last year on a kicker with a really strong leg. So they're not the worst franchise to learn from, and maybe Hauschka's, at least for now, more of the field goal guy, but he's been having trouble getting it through the end zone on kickoffs, so maybe Bass is the kickoff specialist. Next pick in the draft, again in the 6th round, 207th overall, Isaiah Hodgins from Oregon State, another wide receiver.
The interesting thing about this guy is that on another national poll, because I only went up to top 10 for receivers, so this guy obviously didn't make my top 10, but I saw a national poll that had Hodgins above Davis. So once again, the Bills take another tall receiver, another 6'4" receiver, who had 13 touchdowns, and he basically is known for getting first downs and touchdowns. And we decided, hey, you know what? Why not? Let's get another tall receiver in there. Let's just see what he can do. And the kid dropped. And I think the reason he dropped was kind of an average 40 time with 4.6140, I believe. And the other thing is I just think Oregon State. I think Oregon State was part of the reason he dropped. Just not a lot of competition where he plays. But we'll see. I just want to bring him in and see what he can do. What do you think about the idea that you were the one who didn't want to take any receivers, if I'm not mistaken?
I can't believe the hot take on the Pac-12. That still got me shook, man. I really didn't think that we'd be expending a lot of draft capital on wide receivers, considering what we had already spent draft capital-wise on receiver, and looking at the rest of the roster. I mean, does Beasley still have space? Like, do we still have a space on this roster for Beasley? He's not covering kicks. You know what I mean? Like, you have to think about the whole wide receiver room very differently now. Like, does Duke Williams, does he have a chance of making the team? Does he still have time? Like, does he still have eligibility for the practice squad? Like, he was a fan favorite instantly, and he's gone as quick as he came. It's very interesting. All right, pick 7, grinding on, 239 overall, our last pick, and finally back to defense. A very uncharacteristic, very un-Brandon Beane, un-Sean McDermott draft this year, if there's such a thing. But back to defense, the cornerback. I did say we're going to draft a Panther, though.
You're right.
Remember?
Yep.
From Pitt, Dane Jackson.
Honestly, and I'll say this. The Bills have found a way, probably because of McDermott's coaching, to get these like late round defensive backs and find some way to incorporate them into the offense. Like there's been players we picked that I'm like, oh, they're not going to do anything in the defense, and yet they find a way into the lineup somehow, and you never know. So I don't see him being a starter or anything like that. I just kind of see him competing for the nickel spot and doing special teams. I mean, it's the 7th round, but you never know what could happen. And I think honestly, like kind of like you were alluding to, they had to get that asterisk in for the either a Carolina or a Panther, and they went with a Panther.
I know interviews, like the first interview of the media really means nothing, but Dane Jackson sounded like he would do anything to make the Bills win. Like
Really?
The reporters asked him questions if he'd do special teams, this, that, and like he was so like confident, like assertive, like I will do whatever it takes, like whatever I could do. Like it really impressed me. I'm having listened to interviews with both these guys, doing not research, but just paying attention. I was really impressed with his interview. Like, I don't know, most of the time, athlete interviews mean nothing to me because they say nothing. But this kid was like dead on, balls to the wall, ready to go.
Well, good. I'm glad he has your endorsement.
Yeah. So I like that one. Whew! What a draft.
Yeah.
So you're feeling great. We got a quarterback that you've been looking for. Filled up the wide receiver rooms. A+. What do you think, Jared?
I went very back and forth on the grade. Actually, I had it for a few days, and I just changed it today.
A good thing we waited.
Yeah. I'm going to give the grade of this draft a B.
Whoa! All right. So we will be together next, right before the season, right? Since we're skipping preseason, the season preview. Hopefully the NFL can figure it out. Hopefully society can figure it out. Let's just hope for some football, something to gamble on outside of ping pong, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, Jared, I'll talk to you in 3 or 4 months.
Let's see, 6'4", 294 pounds, and 4'9", 40 track.